Hello everyone, my name is Joe Soisson. I'm a contributor for Phantom Sports Industries, and today I want to talk about some news that came up this week out of the NHL. Specifically out of Toronto, with a focus on William Nylander. The GM of the Toronto Maple Leafs, Brad Treliving, said, quote, "It's a priority. We want to get Willie signed." And Willie is obviously referring to William Nylander. But it is interesting that they're putting an emphasis on signing him now. I mean, Toronto had all offseason to negotiate with contracts, sign free agents, get this roster ready. And if they really wanted to focus on getting Nylander another contract, even Nylander pointed out the odd timing, saying that he's got a full year left of his current contract. He doesn't see the big rush here. But I think Toronto could potentially be rushing this contract for two reasons. Number one is that the Maple Leafs, I think, are officially in their championship window. It really started with the Signal last year. They won their first playoff series in 19 years, and the team that they beat had been to the Stanley Cup 3 years in a row, the Tampa Bay Lightning. And that was the signal for them to say, okay, this is a team that's capable of winning a championship. This is a good lineup. But I think also on top of that, if you look at teams that have won the Stanley Cup recently, the Maple Leafs share some similarities in one of the biggest factors, and that's scoring depth at forward. I mean, last year, you had the Las Vegas Golden Knights, who have always had solid depth. I mean, they have Jack Eichel now. They had Jonathan Marchessault, who went on a scoring streak in the playoffs. Mark Stone, William Karlsson, Barbashev made some key plays in the postseason. Scoring depth was a massive factor. Then you look at Colorado the year prior. Nathan MacKinnon was always a top forward in the NHL leading up to that Stanley Cup run, but it wasn't until Nichushkin got hot and Rantanen got hot and Burakovsky had a couple of goals in the postseason. Nazem Kadri was a massive factor. The depth at forward was once again key. Even the Tampa Bay Lightning, for the 3 years that they were in the Stanley Cup Finals, Stamkos, Point, Kucherov, all high point scorers. But then you add depth like Palat, Cirelli. The big one was Yanni Gourde, who was centering that third line for them for 2 full Stanley Cup runs. And lo and behold, the year that Tampa Bay could not win the Stanley Cup was the year that Gourde was taken away via the expansion draft from the Seattle Kraken. Depth at forward is massively important, and Toronto has it, especially if they do execute this shift that they're trying to do with Nylander. One of the other focuses of their training camp was to potentially move Nylander from right wing to center. He would be probably centering the third line. He's played center before, normally when Austin Matthews or Tavares are out on injury, but if Nylander is the center for the third line, suddenly the scoring depth goes from line 1 to line 2 to line 3 as well. It's also worth noting that the Atlantic Division is a weaker division in the East right now. Boston had a great season last year, but 2 of their biggest stars retired, so they will likely be taking a step back. Florida, they won the Eastern Conference this year, but they squeaked into the playoffs. And Tampa Bay, who went on that run, well, Toronto just beat them in the last playoff series, so things are looking up for the Maple Leafs. The second real reason they want to get this signature done is because of the price that Nylander will cost them. Nylander is not going to get any cheaper unless he negotiates down. He's 27 years old, so there's still a lot of time left on his career in the NHL, but also you look at the past few seasons, and his stats are all trending upwards. In the seasons where he's played 81 or more games, because there's a handful of those shorter seasons, but Nylander is good for really the entire year. But in 81 or more games, he's scored total points 61, 61, 80, 87. So it's trending up. In short, he's playing some of his best hockey now. So that price tag is going to get real expensive for when they renegotiate. If he has another breakout year this year and gets even more points than he did in the previous 2, suddenly that price tag is going to jump up. So signing him before a breakout season is the smart move for Toronto. The good news is for Toronto, Nylander doesn't seem to want to leave. On that quote that he talked about the contract length for, he said, quote, "There's no other place I want to play, but I still have one more year left." So Nylander wants to play for Toronto, and he's a top player for them. The connection seems to work. But it is important to note that it's going to be an expensive contract for William Nylander. And once you give a star player money, it's hard to keep the outside help for them on the same team. And without that outside help, the path to a championship becomes a lot tougher. Anyways, that's going to be it for the NHL news today. Thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to check out our channel for more sports content and our website, Phantom Sports Industries, for more articles on your favorite teams and players. My name has been Joe Soisson, and we'll see you all next time here at Phantom Sports Industries.